This time last year, I'm sure you all remember me making videos where I held a pretty militant stance against the usage of slurs, and ever since then, I say my views have kinda sorta softened on them, and I'm sure some people, upon hearing this, will get excited and be like, whoa, is 2017, 2018 Mikey making a comeback? Is he gonna be saying the N-word and F-slur all the time again? Based! No, sorry to disappoint. That still disgusts me to this day, and on a personal level, saying those slurs absolutely fucking sickens me, and it's really hard to watch those old videos where I say those words out the ass, but I'm purely talking about people who certain slurs are targeted against, like, say, a black person doesn't mind the N-word, and I'm not talking about the A variant of the N-word, I'm talking about hard R N-word. I've seen some people who are black say, they really don't care about the N-word, hard R, and they actually don't care if white people use it, and I used to kind of really take a lot of contention with that point and be like, no, you should be against that. White people have no business using the N-word hard R, and I still do believe that, but I'm not going to argue against someone who the N-word is actually targeted at because it's kind of low-key racist. It would be essentially me white-splaining a slur that isn't even targeted towards me. It's targeted towards them, and they're telling me that they personally don't care about that slur, yet I'm the one that is taking offense for them, and again, essentially white-splaining the slur to them, and telling them why they shouldn't have the position that they hold. And also the F-slur. Oh, this was also another big one for me last year. I was pretty militant against the F-slur as well. I didn't see any context where saying that word was appropriate, even if it was two queer people or two or more queer people in a private group saying it to each other and they're all comfortable with saying it. Another group of people that I'm not even a part of saying a slur that targets them and they're all fine with it, yet I'm the one taking offense for them. I'm the one essentially explaining to them why they shouldn't be using a slur that again targets them and not me. I'm sure you see the huge problem there, and this is essentially my stance. I still don't like people who are not part of certain groups saying slurs that are directed towards other groups, but really, who am I to stop that? A couple of months ago for Christmas, my dad came down and I went out with him and his friend to Manhattan for a day, and they were both joking with each other and calling each other the F slur, and none of them are queer, and for a second I did take contention with that, and then I remembered. These two guys are 50 years old. They grew up in a completely different time where saying that word in a derogatory fashion was a lot more appropriate. Me scolding them on why they shouldn't use that word would do nothing because, again, they grew up in a time where that word was a lot more appropriated. And yes, that is a problem. I do think people shouldn't be saying it in a derogatory fashion, but again, I'm not going to lecture people on saying a slur that doesn't affect me. Now, you may be wondering, do I still take contention with, say, Candace Owens for propagating white supremacist rhetoric, or Steven Crowder making bigoted remarks towards certain groups of people under the guise of, it's just a joke, bro? Well, of course, because these are large public figures whose words actually cause real-world harm. There is a massive differentiation there, but when it comes to your average Joe Schmo saying these words, should I really care that much? Because they're a nobody. They're not going to influence the minds of anyone. And I can rant and rave and scream about that person using slurs all day long, and it'll only reach the ears of, like, 150 people at most. But it's a waste of breath, and it's a waste of time. The reason I personally don't use derogatory slurs directed towards certain groups of people is because I don't think it's appropriate for me at all to be saying those words as a white cishet, and this is purely for me personally. I'm not speaking for anyone else, I'm not trying to scold anyone here, I'm just giving the sole reason why I personally don't say these words anymore, and am personally repulsed by hearing me in old videos saying those words. And also, call me a snowflake for this all you want, I don't fucking care, but I do want to consider the feelings of other people more these days, because I'm not an unempathetic douchebag like so many of these people who are like, yeah, I say whatever I want, fuck the snowflakes who want to police my language, ugh. But I feel that if I say certain slurs in front of certain people, it could be an emotional trigger for them. They may have a past with those certain words, and they may be part of the group of people that those certain words are targeted towards, and they really don't appreciate me saying that. And I'm not going to be like, just grow a thicker spine, snowflake. No, I'd like to consider the feelings of other people more these days and understand the feelings they have towards certain words. As I do wish more people would recognize the harm in certain words that they choose to use on a day-to-day basis, there's nothing really much I could do to stop it, and I suppose on its own, average people using certain derogatory slurs in a setting where there's no one present who is hurt by those words doesn't really contribute to much harm. It's really when public figures start weaponizing these sorts of words, that's when I take huge contention, because now we're talking about people who have influence over the minds of other people. There's a difference between someone saying death to all Jews as an edgy joke in a private setting where everyone finds it funny. I mean, you could talk about how that's really not appropriate all day long, and I would agree, but still, there's nothing really much being done there. It's just edgy douchebags being edgy douchebags. But when PewDiePie has that same exact joke in a video that has garnered the attention of millions upon millions of people, that is a completely different situation. And that is the right time to condemn certain jokes like that. When public personas, especially really large public personas like PewDiePie, I mean, fucking hell, the guy has over 100 million YouTube subscribers, he uses certain jokes like that can help spread and potentially normalize bigotry in the minds of, well, kids. This is not an argument over whether or not PewDiePie is a Nazi, I'm not getting into that, but this is more so an argument about responsibility. When you have a large audience, do you say certain things? Do you crack certain jokes? Because it may fly over the heads of certain people, and they may find what you're saying an endorsement of hateful beliefs that they personally ascribe to, and since you're cracking those certain jokes or saying certain slurs or providing legitimacy towards those hateful beliefs, whether that's your intention or not is completely irrelevant at this point. You said it, and certain people who ascribe to certain hateful beliefs take what you said as an endorsement, and now that you, a large figure, has cracked a certain joke or said a certain slur, they feel more legitimized in their beliefs because now they're like, oh wow, a very large public persona believes what I believe. Cool. So all in all, I still really don't like derogatory slurs. I personally will never use them in that context ever again, in videos or in my personal life. I still do feel that people who are not part of groups that these slurs target should not be using these words, but at the end of the day, there's nothing really much I could say or do to stop it, and me scolding them would be a complete waste of breath, and of course now, I really do not care if, say, a queer person uses the F slur, or a black person doesn't care about the N-word hard R. It's none of my business, and I'm not part of the group of people that slur targets, so I'm not gonna scold them, because I sure as hell don't have any authority over them, and neither does anyone else, and anyone who does this is a douchebag, and let's be honest, probably low-key bigoted and in denial about it, but anyways, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.